Hey, what's up everyone? I just wanted to give an update of the fish room. We've had some things that's happened over the last couple months since I haven't posted videos. I wanted to give everyone an update and let you know what my plan of attack is. So here we go. So fish room's kind of in disarray right now. About a month ago we had a heat wave. It happened to be I was out of town for a funeral and up in the mountains with no service, and when I got service I got a notification that this tank was 87 degrees. I was about 3 hours home. I rushed home and there was actually a power outage that had gone off and come back on at some point. And this entire tank, I do have a check valve, a brand new check valve, but this entire tank drained except for about 1.5 inches. The return, which comes out right there, used to come out and down and then had sprayed over here, so that back siphoned all the way out. There was a check valve in that compartment there, but yeah, I rushed home. I had 30 gallons of water made. I made enough water. I ended up refilling this tank. Essentially, did about a 50-gallon water change. Got temperature back in line and everything. Some things had died, a lot of things had kind of suffered. You can see there's some burn tips on a few, and the Manticore in the back died. I'll try to get some video on the cell phone with the lens on so you can see a little bit better, but I had a lot of things that kind of died immediately, a lot of things that browned out and bleached. Some things were hanging on, and over the past few weeks I don't really see any improvement, maybe even slightly some decline. Another problem that came with that is after the heat wave, I didn't adjust the calcium reactor down here, and what it was doing, because of, I guess, the stressful event of all the corals, they weren't consuming calcium and alkalinity the same, which caused an alkalinity spike, and then the apex turned everything off. So then it would drop back down, and then when it would test again, it would be below the limit, it would turn back on. And it took me a few days before I caught that. So there was a few alkalinity swings of maybe 1 dkh. I've since kind of gotten that back under control. I've got temperature under control. But a lot of the SPS didn't do too well, to be honest, with the heat and the fluctuation in the alkalinity. I also had one of my AI primes go out. I threw this on temporarily. This AI prime, I think, is on its way out. It sometimes flickers, so that'll be replaced here pretty soon with something new. We'll come up with something new with this tank. The other thing that I discovered is this tank actually has some of these little gray flatworms. They don't seem to be bothering anything, but two kinds of flatworms actually. These little gray ones can kind of see the specks on that leather right there. Not those on the glass, but those that are actually on the leather. And then whenever I picked up some things in this tank, I found about the size of a nickel a big kind of purplish translucent flatworm as well. I think that's a different kind that actually eats snails, which would explain why there's no snails left in this tank. So I'm probably going to disconnect this from the main system, the drain and the return, do 100% water change on just this frag tank, pull everything out. I'm hoping, I got 55 gallons made there, I've got 30 gallons made there, and I'm hoping to use that bottom bin, fill it with the water, move all of the corals, and no fish, no inverts in there, and do a bear dip for the flatworms. And then all of the livestock, I have this little, I think it's a 13-gallon flugel. It's been cycling about 60 days. I'm probably going to do 100% water change with the water out of the frag tank, put it in here and move all of the fish and inverts, you know, the hermit crabs. I have a couple big starfish in there, the cleaner shrimp. And then I have one piece of coral that has some really neat little tiny blue crab that lives in the rock. So I'm probably not going to dip that rock that's in the very back. I think it's covered in Pavona. I could be wrong on that. Or Porites, maybe it's covered in Porites. I think it's Porites. It's kind of hanging on through the overheating, but it's that rock right there. So I'll probably give that one a good blow off with a turkey baster, try to make sure there's no flatworms on it. But everything else in here I think is going to get dipped. I just don't want to kill that little crab there, or shrimp, or whatever it is that lives in that rock. So that's about it for now on these tanks. These ones are the ones that kind of had that catastrophic event, and we're still doing it. We've done one big water change already. We're going to do another. Essentially, redoing this frag tank is going to do 50 gallons to the system, and I have a little extra. We might do all the water that we have, do a full 70 or 75 gallon water. I think there's 55 gallons there actually, and 30 there, so we might do up to 80 gallons. This tank, it's just been cycling, doing its thing. It's actually, everything in here is really happy except for, well, I guess it is really happy. The green hair algae is really happy. Cyano is really happy. We got cyano on the back and some green hair on the rocks, but overall, these are just easy to keep soft corals that I kind of just needed a place to put. So that's doing okay, just chugging along. Let's see, the anemone tank. Everyone in here is doing really good. So when I change that light, I think that this leather is not getting enough light, and it's kind of hard to see, but under this edge where it's kind of curled on top of each other, it actually looks like it's kind of dying or rotting away. So I did get in there and kind of brush away all the damaged areas that were just loose on the coral. Did a water change, added some carbon. I'm probably going to do another big water change on it. But everything in here other than that seems to be doing pretty good. Fish are all happy. I had a Aptasia eating filefish for about 5 or 6 years. He's been in here. That's the only fish loss that I've had in quite a while on this tank, in years actually. So I don't know what happened to him. I found him down here, and the brittle star in there was actually eating him. I also noticed my urchin. I see his shell back in there. I don't know what happened with the urchin, but he was around for many years, and now I see his shell just there. But overall, this is looking good. This needs a good clean on the sump, a trim on the macroalgae and the refugium, and I still need to figure out a permanent light solution. I have a 36-inch T5 that I put up whenever the aquatic light 6-volt went out. So yeah, that's an update on the softy tank. I think long term, I want to kind of shift gears. I think I want to get rid of all or most of the anemones and just run some of my favorite soft corals. But the anemones, man, they take over and they sting everything, and things that are next to it tend to not do well. Only whatever's survived the anemone stings has survived this tank, which is not a lot. Paligrandis, a couple leathers. This leather is okay, but I think that the edges are unhappy where it touches. These big hairy mushrooms, they definitely have a line where the anemones get them where they don't grow past. These green mushrooms, everyone that's been stung usually bleaches out and dies out. I had a lot on this rock, but it was taken over by these anemones. But there is a few pretty mushrooms in here. Here's a purple discoma, like a pink purple. Here's some kind of Yuma, I believe, or Rhodactis. Started as a little tiny guy. Now there's a few babies around it, but it's a pretty mushroom. Got some leather corals, lots of anemones everywhere. There's about 30 anemones. And I think, yeah, that's it. The plan with this, when this did drain completely, I lost a few fish. I lost a bristlenose tang, a small bristlenose. I believe it was a Tomini tang. I actually found that one in the back. It must have jumped out. And then I had a purple dotty back, which after that drain and overheat and all of that, I never found again. So it could possibly still be in here, but I wasn't able to find it. There was also a 6-line wrasse that's missing. So the entire tank lost all of its water except about an inch. The tang was still alive in there. These clownfish were still alive in there. There's also an algae blenny who's still kicking around in there. The cleaner shrimp made it. The brittle star, there's a purple serpent star actually in there. It made it as well. A few of the corals kind of suffered. This blasto was out of water for, I believe, a little bit of time, and it was receding back, but it looks like it's growing. The ones next to it were slightly out of the water, slightly in the water, and they were doing much better. All the mushrooms and zoas seem to have recovered fine. These guys seem to be recovered fine. Most of the hammers seem to be recovering fine. It was really the SPS that really, the majority of it did not do well. And this blasto. Everything else in here, surprisingly, is hanging on. I have pulled some of the dead stuff out, but there still is a lot of dead stuff in there. There was little polyps still alive, and I thought maybe they would come back, so I've left them, but I think it's time now to remove whatever I don't see signs of recovery. You can see these, they kind of died back and are starting to get a little bit of color back. But yeah, so I'm going to set the camera back, probably do a time lapse of the water change, and breaking down everything out of this tank, and then I'll probably pick up the camera again and maybe show some more detail of me dipping everything in that tank. Alright, see you soon. Just wanted to give everyone a quick look with the filter on so you can see some of the corals that have been suffering. We'll start out on this side. Clam seems to be happy. That Ghani is bleached out and receded. That coral down there is pretty well bleached out. It's not dead, but it's not doing well. Same as that, same as all of those. You can see the Monty in the back, pretty much completely browned out and primarily dead. This guy in the front, tips all burned and dead. What's alive is really browned out and struggling. All the tips on that guy seem to have burnt tips. The stylo seems really unhappy. It just seems really skinny and not fluffy like usual. The digi behind it is pretty much gone. These SPS here are really bleached out, burned tips and dying tissue. You can see that millie up there. It's got a few burned tips and problems with it. Some of these seem to be doing okay. That's a piece of Monty that broke off. I mean, that's more Monty that broke off. So you can kind of see how unhappy and things are. This Montepora's got a lot of burned tips. All that brown is dead. The one behind it was vivid bright green. Now it's light green and white. You can see in the frag tank. Frag tank, I think, got more damage. All that SPS there is pretty much dead. There was some that I removed that was completely dead. Those still had a few little polyps or skin on them. You can kind of see, you know, there is still a little bit alive in there, but I think it's 99% toast. Hammers and frog spawns seem to be doing okay. That one on the end, I don't know why, is a little unhappy right now, but was open nice and fluffy. The trachees looking good. You can kind of see these. You can see what died back and where it's growing back already. Same as this. You know, all these tips and things were burned. It does seem to be coming back, but just a very slow recovery. So as you can see from my water change, I have a heater in there. We're right at about 78 degrees, 79 degrees. So that'll be, there's 55 gallons there, and I think about 30 gallons there. So that'll be what it's for. I'm gonna go ahead and start this tank draining. Also drain that, dump all that water, do 100% water change with this water change water, so I can temporarily move all of the fish into there just while we're doing the complete clean out. I also think I'm going to add some substrate into this tank. I have a lot of basically looks like calcium reactor media, but it's also got little shells in it that I think I'm going to add to the bottom in here. I have about maybe a 5-gallon bucket full or so, but I think that'll be a nice substrate from here. All right, here we go. So here's a little bit better look as we're draining down. Let me put the lens on. So as you can see, most of the SPS not doing well. Mushrooms and softies all seem to be doing good, and some sunkers bounced down there. But we're gonna get all of this dipped and this whole tank scrubbed down. That's some of the casualties. So as I'm cleaning this out, I found one of these big flatworms. Let me put the lens on. And here it is with the lens. You can see it moves too. So we got some of these big flatworms, plus some little ones. You can kind of see them on that orange mushroom. But that's why we're breaking it all down. While we have it all empty, I'm gonna go ahead and clean off some of this core line on the back. I usually don't clean the backs, but I figured since I have everything drained down and we're gonna basically be redoing everything, might as well start with a fresh start here. But it comes off fairly easily with a steel blade, of course. We got a few things that are grown to the bottom, a couple mushrooms there, one there. There's a, in the corner you can't really see, there's a mini maxi carpet anemone. So I'll work on getting those guys out without damaging them. Then I'll get the shop vac, get all this out, finish cleaning it, and we'll be ready to fill here pretty soon. All right, we've got it all drained. I took the scraper and got off most of the core line and hit it with the shop vac. It's not perfect as far as the core line goes, but we got definitely the bulk of it off. Once everything's back together, we can get a little more detailed with the glass. I'll probably hit those parts in the back just because they're hard to reach once it's full. I got everything off. There is a mini maxi carpet anemone sitting there in the air. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the substrate in and get some water in here for him. This is what I'm gonna be using. It's kind of like a crushed coral, and it's got some shells and some stuff in it, but it's a very large substrate. My thoughts behind this is if I'm keeping zoas and different frags and things in here, as they propagate and grow, maybe they'll attach to little pieces of this as well. And you know, it's an easy coral to frag in that, if that happens. All right, we'll keep it moving. I'm actually liking this substrate. Pretty cool stuff. We've got about maybe an inch and a half throughout. So I think it's gonna be nice. Start getting some water in. Well, I think the camera died that was on the time lapse, but as you can see, we're almost full to the overflow line. The Reef Savvy's pumping a little bit of air When I turned this down, the return back to this tank was on slightly. So we took a little bit of water out of this system. So we're going to have to put enough back in to stop the bubbles in order to maintain the salinity. So now that this is right at its overflow, it's still pumping out of here slowly actually. I'm going to let it actually fill up a little too much and then open the drain back up. And then also open the return so I can get everything to start circulating again. And then the water change and the cleaning and the complete tear down and cleanup of that is done. The next step will be, I've got all the corals in there. We're going to be setting up a sort of dip station, and we'll be dipping every single coral before it goes back into the tank. An update on all of the livestock, not too much, but my old pair of clowns, they're about 10 years old. The big purple serpent star there is doing okay. There's a scopus tang in there you can kind of see in the middle. The sea urchins. There's a few hermit crabs. There's also an algae blenny, and I don't actually see him right now, but he is in there too, probably in one of these rocks. But yeah, so we'll take you behind the Reef Savvy. Just since I'm back here, all my wires are for the most part off the ground and have drip loops. I have these hooks on the wall to keep everything off the ground in the event of a flood. That tank is getting a little bit high, so we're going to go ahead and open the drain up. Let the two systems start working together again. And you can see that center chamber, you can kind of see that center chamber starting to drop. We're going to come around to this side. We're going to open the return. It's right there. Oh, can't do it one-handed. Let me switch hands here. Okay, let's try this again. So you can kind of see the valve down there. That guy turned back on. Returns are pumping in here. Where we're at. Okay, this one's all filled up. I actually did do the water change on that one as well. I just went ahead and turned that back off. I did the extra, I think 35 gallons out of the display tank there, and then refilled everything. Total water change was about 75, maybe 73 gallons. I had a few gallons left over. But so far so good. Next step is everything that was in that tank is going to be dipped. I've never dipped so many corals at once, so we're going to give it a shot. What I have here, a 5-gallon tank with about 2.5 gallons of water in it. I think I'm going to do Coral RX. That does help with the flatworms as well. I also have Bear, but I don't know how some of my LPS and things will do with Bear. So we'll just start doing one batch at a time, and as we do them, we'll rinse them in clean water and get them in the tank. Here we go. So I think my main camera stopped, but I'm maybe a little more than halfway through. I'm just dipping them here in this 5-gallon tank. Letting them sit about 10 minutes each round, rinse them, and then get them put into the tank. But I wanted to show you, you can kind of see those are the flatworms, the small ones I was talking about. Those brown dots there on the bottom that are moving. I can't really get the best view of it, but that's what we got. And that once they go in the dip, they start freaking out. And within a few minutes, float off. All right, we'll keep going. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what came out of those corals. Quite a bit. Besides all the flatworms, which are really hard to see, All these big clumps of stuff are hundreds and hundreds of micro brittle stars. There's a lot of bristleworms. Do I see anything else? No, definitely a lot of hundreds, if not thousands, of brittle stars, which is kind of sad. I enjoyed brittle stars, but just to show you, I mean, this is just tons and tons of brittle stars. Kind of sad that they had to not make it through my dip. I didn't know how else to get rid of the flatworms and not get rid of these guys. So that's kind of sad. There's probably the majority of the population of the tank. I mean, it's a handful of brittle stars, dead brittle stars. I did get a lot of flatworms off. They're super tiny, so you can't really see them on the camera. And I don't really see much else other than the brittle stars. And I'm looking at it closely here. Yeah, nothing else that I see, but yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a look of what we got going on. That's what's left of the coral. That's whatever was in there that was dead or plugs with nothing on it, and whatever debris were in the bottom of the tank. But yeah, that's it. So that's the tank. Let me take the camera out here. Everything just went back in. I just put the fish in. Let me turn off some flow and do it top down. Yeah, everything's back in. All the fish are back in. These guys are already opening up here. The cell phone died. I don't have a lens for this. Let me see if I can put some glasses in front of it. So you can see those are looking really good. Things are already starting to open. That light's gotta go here pretty soon. It keeps flickering on and off. But so far, whatever made it through. Most of the things on the frag rack is some spagotes and a few other corals that had browned out in the back. Don't know if they'll make it. Put all the hammers and frog spawn along the back. Some of the chalice and things on that little frag rack in the middle. That's mostly things that sting, like Alexia and a few others that, you know, so I try to keep them away from everybody. Most all of these in the front are zoas. Got a few blastos over there and a green leather. Some cool orange mushrooms that came loose, so I put them in a mushroom box. There's also a baby sunkissed in there. There's the mother sunkissed. Looks like it's starting to split again, but they went through the dip and came out happy. So that's it. There you have it. It's the next day. Just wanted to give everyone a look on how everything is looking. All the zoas are open and happy today. Pecans and blastos, mushrooms, lobo. Hammers and frog spawns and elegance. There you have it. As always, helping Zoe.